Hello, Psych guys. Today, I want to talk to you about neurons. Really awesome part of the body. You can go on the net, you can do Google searches and YouTube, and a lot of them go into a whole heap of detail that you don't need to know about. So basically, today I'm going to cover the detail you need to know about. Okay, so there's a heap, billions of neurons in the body. Without them, we wouldn't function. So we need them. They're really important. But interestingly enough, if we pulled one out and started looking at it, it wouldn't do anything. But when we join them together, it has this amazing effect. Each neuron has three things that it does. It receives information, it processes information, and then it transfers the information. So it's really important that you guys know that. And when we start looking at the parts of a neuron, hopefully you start making connections between receiving, processing, and transmitting of information. Okay, so this is a typical neuron, and you often see this type of neuron drawn when people are talking about neurons in general. But there's different types of neurons. We're looking at this. This is a motor neuron. So basically, this type of neuron would be sending the message from the brain out to the body, making my arms move when I talk like that. Okay, so the different parts of the neuron. You can see here we're going to start all the way up the top. We've got the dendrites. Now the dendrites basically grabbing information. So when we start thinking about the different processes of a neuron, this is receiving the information from the other sources. The big area here is the cell body, sometimes referred to as a soma. Soma meaning body. This little area right in the middle is called the nucleus. Now, all of this, there's a few other different things that happen in the cell body, or that are in the cell body, but we're really concentrating on the cell body and the nucleus. And that's really responsible for processing the information. Now, the processing of information happens on a very simplistic level. Basically, what it decides to do is to stop the neural message or to send it on. So it's basically, think about it as a switch. If there's enough information in here for it to go, yep, I'm going to pass the signal on, it's basically like turning on a light switch, and it makes an electrical current go out. Okay, so that's the cell body. The next part is this long wire here. That is called the axon. Okay, the axon is responsible for transmitting the information. So the axon sort of consists of a couple of little parts. You've got the axon here. You've got something called a myelin sheath that basically coats the axon and allows the signal to speed up, but also be directed in a more specific way. It's sort of like wiring in your house. If you got up into the roof and looked at the house wire going to a light, you'd see that there's a wire, and around that wire is like rubber to stop the electricity going other places. Then you've got the axon terminals, and the little ends here you often see sometimes referred to as axon terminal buttons, because they sort of look a little bit like a button. Okay. Now the important thing that we see down here, other neurons coming off. Okay. So you've got here dendrites, the cell body and the axon, and again it's moving away. So if we were to think of what direction this neural impulse, this message would be going, it's coming from here and it's going down this way. Okay? So it comes in through the dendrites, received through the dendrites, processed in the body, and then transmitted via the axons. Now these messages are electrochemical in nature. We're going to be looking at the chemical side of things a little bit in more detail when we start looking at the synapse, which is this little area between one neuron and the next. Okay, that's largely the chemical component. Happens here, and then it starts happening in this part as well. The electrical component is really in the axon, okay, and allowing the message to be transmitted through down the axon and through to the axon terminals and terminal buttons. Hopefully, you now understand about neurons.